Hey, welcome to the channel. It's all about the blues harmonica, so if you haven't already, thumbs up and subscribe. Today I was thinking, what can I do for the spectator, for the YouTubers on harmonica, give a little bit of development, a little bit of idea. And I thought, well, the last video I did was Broken Hungry, a Chicago blues track. And so I thought I'll just explain a little bit about structure for you, for harmonica players who are developing, starting out or whatever, and just explain a little bit about how to go about things. Alright, so what I was doing there was playing a basic groove with the band behind me, and it was etc. And then that kind of idea, I think. Alright, so there was that going on. But then there's the bass line. The actual kind of bass line is, although he's a good bass player, so he'll play lots of different ideas, of course, like all good players should be doing. But the general gist of this is so that's the general idea. Now you could actually play structure and play that with him, but the counterpoint they're using, and I was using on that last video, is sits great and slightly easy on the harp to do, really. Excuse me. So that's the kind of thing that you should do. You should always put some structure in, even on a basic level, you know, because it makes the band sound more rehearsed, doesn't it, together, and more in tune. Even when it's just like on a jam session, there should be, you know, in jazz, for example, there are set things with set numbers that you use all the time. And it's not, in the blues sense, it's not that difficult. All right, so you should do that. So you should pay attention to bass lines. Okay, whatever type of tunes you're coming across, always have a listen to the bass player. Sometimes it can be a curse rather than and a hindrance, rather than, depends who's playing bass, of course. But if you're a good bass player, that's where you should be starting with. Then you'll hear the groove, and then you'll work off the groove. Now the other thing is that if you listen to a lot of blues, which you should be doing on this, if you listen to an awful lot of blues, when you've got guitar bass drums, right, classic sort of a Chicago thing with a harmonica player, or you might use as a saxophone player, whatever. But if you want that cotton thing to shoot the harmonica. But when you introduce another guitar player, for example, who's now going to be providing rhythm, well, then that's going to free up the front guy, but he's going to have to let him do the rhythm, because there might be a conflict there. You'll notice this a lot if you've got a Hammond organ player, which are a rarity really on the general scheme of things. I used to play with a really good Hammond player back in the day. But there can be quite a rarity. But say you're playing with a Hammond organ player and you've got another guitar player in the band, and you might have two guitar players in the band, right? And one of the guitar players is a rhythm guy, then he really needs to know how to play. And the reason is that if he's putting any rhythm down at all, he's got to be extremely careful, and if he's not sure, he won't play anything. Because how will he know, particularly in jazz, but in blues it'll be sparser, if that's a word, that's not really a sparse, it'd be, you know, but even so, the voicings that he would do on the Hammond, he wouldn't know how he's going to do it, because that's open to interpretation. So you can get a complete clash here if you're not careful. Now if you look at the great jazzers, for example, look at the skill of someone like Kenny Burrell using it with a Hammond organ player like Shirley Scott, or any of those when he was playing with Stanley Turrentine. You'll see the correct way to approach it. Or playing with Jack McDuff, or playing with any of the great blues guys, they'll know. And if in doubt, leave it out, back off, because one of them has to be dominant with the voicings, because otherwise they're going to be playing contrasting rhythms that it's going to be a mishmash. It isn't going to be clean enough, is it? It's not going to be strong enough. And these are things, and certainly when you're comping on a harmonica, that has to be taken into account. Alright, and obviously the bigger the band, the less you will have to do in those circumstances. The smaller the band, you can do more. Now in most harmonica players you'll probably be playing with just 3 of you, okay? There'll just be a guitar, bass and drums, which is great in a way. More to do, more to fill, but you're not having to concentrate on staying out the way of people and contrasting, okay? And so that would be my advice there, to be very mindful of that when you're playing with the bands, or even sitting in. You know, when you're first starting out and tentatively, yeah, do your thing when you're on the stand, but make sure you don't get in the way of anybody until you get your solo space and ease your way in, and that's the best way to do it. Now, as a harmonica player, you've got to develop a style, alright? I have my own style, and that's what you should try and get, an original style. But if you get close to somebody else's style, it'll still have you in it. But I think in the modern sense, you want to try and develop out of everybody. You'll get 1,000 people sounding like Little Walter, you know, it was done back in the day, or they're trying to be Sonny Terry from even further back, and they never get into their own thing, okay? You should be developing your own thing from outset. That's something that I coach on all the time. You don't just pick a style off a tree, it grows naturally inside you. But the tip I can give you is that the more you listen, listen to everything, the better you'll sort of get to it, I think. Alright, so style. And of course within the style you've got the tongue blocking guys, you know, and the lip pursing guys, okay? And the jury's out on that. Some people like one style, some people like the other. It's entirely which one you want to go down. Some people use both. I use both, but I'm predominantly I'm lip pursing because you can play more advanced that way. That's just how it is, you know. Some people like to think that one sound is better than another. That is completely and utterly subjective. Just because you fatten the sound up, it doesn't necessarily mean that that is a better sound. It's completely open to interpretation, and depending on what style of music you're playing within the blues genre or the rock genre or whichever style, or blues jazz, or whichever style you're going for. Alright, so that's all very subjective. And what you should do, obviously when I say being a lip person more advanced, you can play in all keys, and you know, whether you're going moving through the keys as I'm moving through them there, you know. Yeah, you know, okay, 12 keys, you don't need 12 harmonicas. I use about 4 or 5 keys, and then I double them, obviously to make sure if a reed goes or something, or I have them set it a certain way. But you need to be comfortable in good 6 keys that can cover 12, and you know, just playing in a couple of positions really is okay to a point, but you know, we are living in the 21st century, you know, and it's not that difficult. People go on about it, but it's not that difficult. Well, certainly get yourself out of 2nd and 3rd and 4th and 1st, and start working in 12th you'll need, and 11th you need those for a lot of straightforward blues stuff when you're moving half steps, okay? So, and you know, and this sort of thing, not too difficult, okay? You just need a little bit of coaching on it. So that's just a straightforward 2nd position scale, but yes, I'm using the 8 overdraw at the top, and it's not that difficult. Out of the box harmonicas, I haven't even touched this one, but if I go in and do it, it'll make it easier for me. It's just getting with the right person to get you down the right track. The only difference between me being able to do it and you not quite getting there is because you're going to be determined. If you're determined to play this thing, you'll have no problem at all. It's not that difficult, alright? People on the internet make out that it's difficult. It's not that bad, really. So there's a couple of tips for today. Listen to the structure of a band and work from that, and be mindful of that, okay? Listen to the bass lines of a good bass player. Listen how that's moving, and you can fit the counterpoints, okay? Get playing in other keys, okay? That's crucial in the modern world, isn't it? You've got to be playing in other keys, and get with a guy that's going to help you do that, all right? I think that's the key to it. And be determined, and then job's easy. If you really want to do it, it's not too difficult at all. The secret is you've really got to want to do it, okay? Alright, stay safe out there. As always, I'll catch you on the rebound.